Okay. Bill Ewing.
Yes.
Okay. Great meeting you.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks for coming on short notice.
Well, it says you got a beautiful shop here. I
Thank
really
you.
like it. It's
Thank
nice.
you. Yeah, like I said, Martin Robinson, he was with us last month and kind of struck out this month, and I trust him with my life. He said, Bill's the one you need to talk to, and then he gathered you up and brought you, so I'm thankful that you came.
Well, I'm glad to be here. Like I said, nice to meet you, and I'm glad you're doing this kind of stuff.
Yes, sir. Might as well get some stories down where we all check out.
Really, you never know. You
Yeah.
never know.
Yeah, so you were saying you have how many great-grandchildren?
Well, I've got two granddaughters that are pregnant, and when they have theirs, I'll have 12 great-grandkids.
Wow, wow. And you're only 52 years old? I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
Just kidding.
I really.
Yeah, well, that's great.
I'm trying to keep up with Sherm out there, but get
Yeah?
on Sherm, you know.
Yeah? How many does he have?
I don't know. I don't
Oh,
know.
okay.
He don't have a whole bunch,
I
but
got you.
I knew he's one of his sons is all I knew.
Okay.
When he raced.
I got you. You raced with Sherm quite a bit coming up.
Yeah,
through the
we
ranks.
raced Sherm and I and Christie.
Yeah, he's coming up on 90 years old still
Yeah.
racing, you know. That's wild. That's something to look up to.
Well, we had a lot of fun with Christie and me and a couple of guys in El Paso. We had some pretty good races.
Did you?
Uh-huh.
What was your first race car? And what got you into racing?
I was messing with some political stuff, and the Sertoma had the track out there, and they had a special night, and they wanted some people that were involved in these political stuff to come out, and I came out, and I never been to races in my life. You know, we rodeoed and had stuff on the farm and did stuff, but we never messed with cars.
Yeah.
And I was in a grandstand, and we were gonna. I was going to drive one of the Rosales' cars, and they broke down, so I didn't drive anything. I was in the stands, and they had the claimers. They had the claimers running, and Barnes, Jay Barnes, was driving a white car out there with a big for sale sign on it. And I sat there that night and watched everything, and Jay lives about 2 miles from me. And he had a for sale sign on that car. I went down the next day and bought the car. And next Friday night, I was at the track.
Heck yeah, that's cool.
Never done anything. I said, give me the car. I said, I'll take the car.
And were claimers back then probably had a regular seat in it and regular seat belt, and or did you have
no?
some
This
safety
had
gear?
this had a racing seat in it and seat belts.
Oh, wow.
But it wasn't a very good car. It was a Ford Comet, and of course the front end just fell out from under it.
Okay.
But
And what year was that when you started racing?
this was in '79.
Okay.
79.
So it's not the Jay Rosales I'm thinking of. It must
No,
have been
no,
his
this
dad.
Jay Barnes. This is Jay Barnes.
Okay.
Jay Barnes had the car like that, and I bought his car from him, and we came up there and raced, and it was just a disaster. And they got rid of the racetrack, and Tommy Black came up with it. And Tommy's a friend of mine, and I was wanting to mess with the stuff, but didn't know exactly how to do anything when Tommy took over the track. And when he took over the track, I was in farming and I was in the dirt moving business.
Okay.
And so we went out there and completely redid the track.
Okay.
We resurfaced it, put different bits. We're the ones that put the high bank on it.
Okay.
Roland and them took it off, but we put a real high bank on it.
That is at Southern
Yeah.
New Mexico, at the fairgrounds.
It was a real high bank.
Oh,
You get to stay up on it, just drift off when we finished with it. And that's the way Tommy Black wanted it. And I'd never been on anything. And I found me an old car to drive, and I worked on the track. We helped him out there, and I didn't do any good. I didn't know what I'm doing, and they didn't have enough cars to run, and they put Zeal. What's Jason's dad's name?
Paul Zeal.
Paul. Paul Zeal. Paul Zeal knew what he was doing, and I didn't. And every time he lapped me, I'd follow him as long as I could.
Yeah.
and then he'd be gone, and then after a while he'd lap me again. I'd follow him because
Yeah.
I knew he knew what he was doing.
Yep.
And that season was just silly. And when the end of the season came, Joe McReynolds won the championship in El Paso with Dick Bannister, and they had Camaro with the Joe Hicks motor in it, and they'd won the championship, and they called me and they said, "We're going to sell this car for $2,500 with a Joe Hicks motor in it," and I bought it
Yeah.
and brought it home, put it in the garage, and I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But I'm good friends with Donnie Byers. Me and Donnie went all through school together. And so they had the race in El Paso was the first one, so I grabbed Donnie up, and I didn't know enough. I had tractor gas in it.
Mm-hmm.
And on the way to El Paso, Donnie said, what are you using for gas? And I said, well, just tractor gas.
Wow.
He said, oh my gosh. So we went down to Yearwoods and bought a bunch of additive.
Yeah.
And he set my car up, and I won the heat, the trophy dash, and come in second in the main, and I was ruined. I was hooked.
Yeah, that's a problem when you do well.
Yeah, and like I said, I won the heat, won the trophy dash, and second in the main, and I've been ruined ever since.
Right. That's who you are now, right? It's
Yes.
ingrained in your DNA. You're
Yeah.
always going to be a racer.
And I loved it, and we just raced hard from then on out.
Yeah, that's interesting about Donnie. I got stickers from. I went and helped his son Josh.
Josh.
Yeah, what a badass! I went and helped him at the Baja 400
Yeah.
and got exposed to that life, and I was like, "Whoa!" My eyes were just gigantic just watching those guys do work. That's the third or fourth generation, and then his son's coming up. Jackson is taking over.
Well, Donnie and I, we went through school together and was always friends because I was in a different world. He was in an automotive world.
Yeah,
And when we were in high school, I was an ag and he was in auto mechanics, but we knew each other, you know. and
yeah.
Later on in life, just
So you were around when he was racing Jeeps up hills and
well,
all kinds of crazy.
right there. See, I live right there by where the Jeep track is. That's
Okay.
where I live.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
well, in fact, that same year when he won that Jeep race up there, we went to TRC and he was racing Jeeps in TRC, and I was in the fair up there with the rodeos and up there. I was dealing with, so we
Okay.
were all together up there.
Good. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I know what you mean as far as it getting in your DNA. And the same thing with just you're hooked.
Yeah.
Same thing. My first year, it looked like a demolition derby car, and I just worked and didn't really know what I was doing, and found an old timer to give me a hand to keep the wheels under it. And then we were off to the races and did pretty good after that.
Well, the more we ran, we were when we started running out here, I was the underdog.
Mm-hmm.
I was nothing,
Right.
and pretty soon I went to winning,
Yeah.
and then I was the hero,
Yeah.
and then I won too much, and they hated me.
That's weird.
They hated you.
I never heard of that happening.
I mean,
I never heard of that happening before.
And in those days, they sold beer.
Yeah.
In the tap, in the keg beer. And we'd win the trophy dash, and I'd pick up my kids. And we'd park out there to get the trophies, and they're screaming at us and chunking beer at us.
Wow.
My kids said, "Dad, they hate us." I said, "Yeah, that's okay."
Right.
They hate us. I said, "Yeah, they hate
You're
us."
like me because you're smiling. So you're okay with being hated because you win.
They hate us. But
Yeah.
we went on like that. The best year we had out there, we won 5 championships.
Yeah.
We
5?
won 3 in a row. When I got with Martin right there, we won 3 in a row out there with
Yeah.
a big block.
Yeah.
But that one year when like I said, I was doing pretty good, and they had like 20 nights of racing.
Mm-hmm.
And I won, I think I won 12 main events, 9 in a row.
Yeah.
And then they hated.
Oh, yeah. They
Oh
don't
yeah,
like that at all.
I was the villain, and I was the villain until Ivan Burton came along,
Yeah.
and now they hate him and they like me again.
Well, because he's a winner as well.
Yeah, he was
And-
winning. He
and-
ran good.
And I've heard stories about Ivan where he'll tell you, "I'm going to kick your ass," and then he'd go and kick your ass. And then if there was any problems, he'd just take a jackhandle or whatever and then really kick your ass. So I heard all the stories about, or some of the stories about Ivan Burton, and I like hearing that the rough and tumble times and years when you could deal with stuff, and that looked.
I was out there
sounds
the
pretty
night
cool.
that they knocked him in the head with a wrench. You know,
Happens.
some of the Rosales has got him. That
Oh,
night.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been that way forever.
Oh, that's the way it was.
Yeah.
That's just the way it was.
They haul you off in a cop car now. You got to be careful with that stuff.
Yeah.
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 They call that assault,
Mhm.
battery. Yeah. You got to be careful what you throw at people.
Well, we just lived at the track. We've had more fun. Tommy Black was fun to work with. Tommy Black made racing fun.
Okay.
He made it fun. It was one of those things, it's just one funny story after another dealing with Tommy.
Okay.
He was just a riot, and always screwed up and always a day late and dollar short. And we finally got to, he didn't have enough money to turn the electricity on. So I would turn all the electricity on. I'd go to the electric company and pay all the bills. And then he'd give us all free passes for the year.
Wow.
He ain't going to pay you back.
Yeah.
But
He'll try to make it right.
He give us pit passes for all our friends and everything.
Right, yeah.
And it worked out about the same.
Good. And in which way did you love him running that track? Was he fair to everybody? Was he just good?
Well, Tommy was just so down to earth, and things were just shaky and scary, but it always worked out.
Yeah.
I come out there one night, and he was trying to beat the electric company, and he had put a generator in,
Yeah.
a huge generator in, and it wouldn't start. And so, we're not dumb. We know a little bit about electricity. We know a little about a lot of things. Nothing enough to get ourselves in trouble.
Yeah.
And they started the races, and right down in front of the grandstands, the electric lines were melting and dripping and busting.
Oh no.
And it just exploding. And they were trying to get the people back, and this, the electric line is this big around, and it just glow and melt and bust and explode. And I said, Tommy, I never seen this before. I said, it ought to kick a breaker. It ought to kick a breaker. He said, I got a file in the breaker up there. I said, you've got a file in it? And he said, it can't kick. I said, that's why it's melting.
Yeah.
Right there.
Wow.
So we got that night going, and we had some electricians come out there, and they rewired it in the dark, and we got started again.
Wow. Wow. That's crazy.
Come out there one night, and I believe it was Juan Rosales. His car caught on fire, and he come through the infill and hit one of the light poles. The light poles went down. All the lights went out. We had to rebuild light poles, get an electrician out there,
Wow.
get all that.
Wow. Yeah.
Just a lot of fun things.
That's the good stuff, though, right? I mean, now it just
Oh.
takes money. You got to do everything by code, and you
Oh,
guys
yeah.
were just making things happen and having a good time out there.
We were out there, and of course, 4th of July, Tommy is the one that started having the big fireworks show.
Okay.
And he put on the finest fireworks show at that time,
Yeah. In the whole
beat
area.
the city all to pieces.
Okay.
Well, the next year we had the biggest crowd you've ever seen for that fireworks show. And we packed the track, and I don't know if we'd run the first heat or not, but it come a cloudburst and rained us plumb
Oh,
out.
dang.
And Tommy said, what do you think we ought to do, Bill? I said, well, the clouds are gone. I said, let's have the fireworks show. And so we had the fireworks show. People drank beer. We got back out on the track, rolled it back in, and at 2:30 in the morning, I was sitting in staging to run the main event.
Wow.
2:30 in the morning. We got out of there, the sun was coming up that day.
Dang.
But the crowd loved it. They got their fireworks show in. They got
Yeah.
everything in it.
You used to have bonfires and everything out there, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. Well, we sit out there many a night till daylight drinking.
Yeah.
Many a night. The race would be over. Rarely did the races end at midnight. It was somewhere between midnight and 2.
Yeah.
They just keep going, and then people just kept drinking and partying.
Yeah. I got to tell you, do you know Tim Munn? Did you ever remember Tim Munn?
Tim
Munn. He's a transmission. He owned a transmission shop for 20 years
He
plus
sounds
in,
familiar.
in El Paso.
Uh-huh.
and he raced out there a lot, but he came up and helped me, and he said, I don't know much about setting up race cars, and so I asked Martin if he'd help me. So it was kind of our little team that we put together, and we started winning races, and people started getting quiet like they do. But he indoctrinated me on that whole beer drinking until they kicked us out of the track, and we'd go over to the truck stop and drink till 5, 6 o'clock. I'm like, Martin, I got to go to bed, man. I got to go. But he showed me how the old days were.
Yeah.
He's like, yeah, let them kick us out of here. We'll just go right there and drink beer on the tailgate. That was amazing. I'm glad to have those kind of memories.
Well,
as well.
we partnered up with Martin, and we ran a lot, but I ran with Ronnie Swinson a lot. Big beer drinker.
Yeah.
And he drank probably a 12-pack before every race.
Ooh.
But I mean, he don't get drunk. He if I was drinking, I'm drunk.
Just calmed his nerves.
But he'd drink all day long, you know, and
Yeah.
he just drink.
Yeah, I know several sprint car drivers out there. I'm like, I couldn't do it, but I don't judge anybody. You know, out there today, I'm like, I would not be drinking right before I get on the track. But
I know every now and then, some of it's just Ronnie, but some of it he did some things with the car. We come in after a heat one day, and he said, he was pretty happy. And I said, what are you so happy about? He said, well, I took this guy out. And he said he was kind of crowding me, and he said, I just took his left rear out. And I said, that was me.
Ooh.
That was me. He said, that was you? I said, yeah, I've been in the infield. Trying.
Yeah.
He said, well, he's pretty happy about taking somebody out, and it was me.
Yeah. I don't see too much of that anymore. People, well, at least me, man, I'm working on my own stuff, and I never said I was a mechanic, you know, so I got Tim, he'll show me what to do, or Martin, but it's still my two hands that are doing all the work, so I don't like tearing stuff up at all.
You would like Ronnie. Ronnie was one of the funniest guys. He's still a good friend of mine, but this reminds me of the programs. They would take our picture and interview us, somebody, every week.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sitting there one day, and the little gal come over and was going to interview Ronnie. And this will give you kind of an example of what racing was like, you know. And she said, tell me about your racing experience. Ronnie said, well, I'm not very good. He said, I don't run as good as these other guys do. But he said, this is absolutely the most fun I've ever had in my life.
Mm-hmm.
He said, this is the most exciting thing I ever did in my life.
Right.
He said, this is the most dangerous thing I ever did in my life. And he said, then we get on the track.
Yeah, yeah.
Then we get on the track.
Right. It's true, isn't it?
Yeah, he said, then you go out there. That's the safest place is on the track. Right?
Yeah. I know. Sometimes you want to win so bad, and when you win, people get quiet, like you say. But then even people that have never won a race in their life, I have so much respect for those that just go out and throw a leg over, get it in. Anytime you strap in one of those things, it's just amazing out there.
Oh, yeah.
So it's fun. Even I have a lot of respect for anybody that just does it. It takes so much sacrifice. It's a lot of money and time and energy, and so I'm always curious about everybody's story.
Me and Martin kind of partnered up on stuff. It was like night and day because I'm not a mechanic.
What did Martin do? Did he set up your car? Did he build your car?
Well, that last year or two, after the races, he took the car home.
Okay.
And he'd have it ready for me on Saturday night.
Okay. Gotcha.
Sometimes he'd bring it to the track, and sometimes I'd pick it up before sometimes he'd have it ready and take it out.
Well, he likes you better than me then. He never did that shit for me.
No, Martin was good. Martin's
the best.
You know, when Martin went to fix something or do anything, you know it's going to be right.
Oh, man.
It's going to be in good shape.
Oh, he said, if you listen to somebody else around here and I find out you changed my setup on this car, you can go talk to them from now on. I'm like, don't worry, I'm not touching it. I'm going to figure out, you set it up, I'll drive it. That's where we're going to work. The X Mod's a little different. I got to keep tuning on the suspension and work it, but you know, a metric frame, I'm like, set it up, put the weight wherever you want. I'm going. Let's go. I'll drive it.
Well, he'll get you in trouble too.
Oh, I know.
He'll get you in bad trouble. He's always wanted to cheat and always wanted to do something crazy. And Big John had the track in El Paso, and me and Will Minks and Christy Georges they were running. They had the 3 tracks they had here and Juarez and El Paso, and so they had kind of a championship between the 3. And we went down there, and my car was a running son of a gun, and so was Will Mink's, and so was Christie's.
Yeah.
And it took us, because in those days all the fast guys go to the back.
Mm-hmm.
Always start in
That's
the back.
how it is
So
now.
we start in the back, and about the 4th or 5th lap, we're in the front.
Right.
And I'm in the lead, and that El Paso, did you ever run El Paso?
No.
Wonderful. That half-mile track, fast. And I'd come out of turn 4, and I'd be in the lead, and Christy'd be right beside me, and Will Minks would be right beside me. And we'd go through the corners, and the next time Will Minks would come out in front.
Yeah.
And Christian, I'd be second or third.
Yeah.
And we did this the whole race.
That's my favorite.
And just so happened, when he come out of turn 4, I was in the lead and I won it.
yeah.
I was pretty proud of myself. I went across the scales and he had taken my weight out.
Oh, crap.
And I was 5 pounds short.
Yeah.
And they disqualified me. And old John come by and he said, come to the pay window. And he said, I'm not going to pay you for first. He said, I'll pay you for second place. He said, that's the best race ever been put on at this track.
Heck yeah.
He said, you guys never touched.
Yeah.
And just swapping places like that. Never touched each other, or just barely
Yeah.
touched.
Yeah.
And he said, I hated to disqualify you for 5 pounds.
Yeah.
And Martin said, I told you to go pick up some mud.
Yeah.
I said, well, you did, but I forgot. I forgot to go pick up the mud.
Yeah, that's funny. He told me the same thing too my rookie year, and I was like, okay. And then John DiMartino said, hey man, you're light. I don't know, it was 8 pounds light or something. I don't know. So I'm like, okay. And in my head, I was like, you got to go pick up mud. And I knew right where the mud was, up against the top of the wall. Well, my competitors were like, no way, he can't do that. I was like chirping the tires. I didn't know what that meant. And so I was like, damn it, Martin, you told me to go pick up mud. He's like, yeah, not up against the wall, making a whole parade lap. I'm like, well, I didn't know what you meant. It's funny, all the stories, just from when you don't know what you don't know, and then you just have it in your head, go pick up some mud. I'm like, where am I going to pick up mud at? You just want me to run around this dry infield. That's not going to work.
You learn a lot, just the experience.
Just have to do it.
Yeah. Having a good, like I said, it's some of the most fun I ever had in my life.
It's a bad addiction, that's for sure. This year's a little different for us. We're celebrating our 20-year wedding anniversary.
Oh, really? Okay.
So we're going to Santa Fe and doing that whole thing, and I just got to focus on her brother's renewing his vows over in Italy. So we're like, all the money's kind of spent in a different direction this year, but we'll reboot and do it again next year. And I'll race 7 or 10 races in Sandia. You can't let it go completely. You got to stay current on your pilot's license, but you know what I mean. I got other things to do this year, so it's a heartbreaker. They're out practicing tonight, and there's never been a practice that I wasn't at. So I'm like, it's difficult to put it on the back burner when you're a racer.
Oh no, you're going to be there. You're going to be there. Like
it's hard. They're racing this weekend. I can't race, and it's a heartbreaker.
When things were at the peak of things, before we moved this racetrack to Saturday night, we raced here Friday night in El Paso Saturday night.
You know, I think that's what we need around here.
Yeah, we raced here Friday and there Saturday like that. And
I wonder why they came apart. Why didn't they work? Why did people stop showing up, or?
It was all good. It was good for years and years. Things didn't completely fall apart until 2006 and 7 when the economy went bad. That's when but it was phasing out. There's some things that made racing good. And NASCAR is one thing, but your local track, the fast guys start in the back.
That's how it is here.
Every class. And the sprint cars, the trophy dash was very important.
Yeah.
And not for us, but for the sprint cars that run trophy dash. And whoever won the trophy dash, they would flip a coin for the runs heads up or inverted.
Okay.
So it didn't help you to sandbag because you didn't know how they were going to start the main.
Yeah.
And that was exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And out here we had spectator races.
Oh, that'd be cool.
And out here we raced the street stocks, the hobby stocks, the modifieds, the sprint cars, and motorcycles raced, three-wheelers raced, bicycles raced.
Yeah.
Everybody's racing. And then he got to having spectator races. And you could just take your own car out there at intermission, and you'd sign up, and he'd take either 2 or 4 cars out there, and they'd run 2 laps.
Oh my
And
gosh,
sometimes
that'd be fun.
they'd wad a pickup up or a Cadillac up, and it'd be all skin up, you know. But that,
Wow. That'd be fun.
somebody wanted to do it. So
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we should put together some
Then-
pure stocks and do that.
to go along with that story, every week somebody would be out there. Well, we had a cop here named Tommy Ford, state cop, and they gouged him. He went and took the cop car out there. And when they found out about the police station, they transferred him to Roswell.
Oh, dang.
But he didn't hurt his car, but he ran the spectator race.
Made a
in
hot lap in
they-
the cop car?
in that black cop car. And they found out about it. And,
They weren't happy with him, huh?
Not at all.
Dang
They
it.
transferred old Tommy out of here.
No sense of humor.
No.
Probably did good. Some little kid was watching that and probably became a cop because of
I
that.
don't know.
Yeah. That's fun.
We had, but with the crowds were always big. Back during those earlier days, they had a TV crew out there a time or two.
Okay.
But they had us on the radio at night live.
Oh, okay. I heard the biggest shows at Southern was during the fair.
Oh, the fair's
Yeah.
always
People would hear it and walk over, see what was going on.
well, and the fair didn't have beer. We had beer at the track.
Oh man, you
And
guys
so
had
they-
standing room only, probably.
Yeah, they came over for the race and for the beer.
Yeah. Wow.
It was good.
That's fun. That's fun.
It was real good. Like I said, it was kind of a fan. When it first started, Tommy didn't have a liquor license or nothing. And at that time, I wasn't drinking much beer, and I had a bunch of kids. But a lot of people, he just let you bring your ice chest. I think he wasn't selling beer.
Yeah.
And they had ice chests full of Cokes and food and everything else out there until he got him got to work on the liquor license. And
Then they didn't want you to
Yeah,
bring your own.
no,
They wanted you to
buy our
spend your
beer,
money. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. When did they stop giving trophies out? I've wondered that. I mean, a guy named Ken Rubel will print trophies out for the weekly winner. But I'm used to the 80s and some of the 90s where I'd always see people getting trophies.
well, even when me and Martin was together, there was a trophy for the trophy dash, and a lot of times they give trophies in the heat. I got a lot of heat trophies.
Right.
Yeah. I just got tons of trophies out
Yeah, I
there.
feel like you guys got your whole shops full of trophies and then you just gave up on them. Somebody did.
Yeah,
They just dried up. I'm like, why don't we hand out trophies anymore?
Well, the trophy dash was very important. I mean, people like the trophy dash.
Yeah.
And the racers like the trophy dash. It's fun.
How many features a night back when you guys were racing? Was it 3 or 4? Or?
Well, they had a hobby stock class and a stock car. Then they had some kind of a modified class. Dickie Gorham and them would run in that. And they came up, finally they started having the IMCA cars and the sprint cars.
Okay. But usually 3 classes a night or 4 a night?
Or 4 or 5. They had
Yeah.
they have quite a few classes.
That's what's going
And
on
they
at Votto.
and another thing, and the best class was our class. Our class was by far the best.
Gotcha.
We had a B main every night, and a lot of times a C and a D main
In which class was that?
in the street stock class.
Street stocks. Okay.
And the fastest cars are going to start in the back, and they filled it all up. The last 8 cars were the top 8 points, and everybody else
Yeah.
they filled them in in the front.
Yeah.
And it worked good. Like that, you had to work your way through all that traffic.
Right. In ours, it is that way, but the heat races don't mean anything. So for me, it was hard to wreck because I'm not good on the mud. So it looked like I was sandbagging, but I just didn't want to wreck anybody else or myself when I knew I had to start at the back because they inverted based on
Yeah.
points. And
We did the same thing too.
Yeah.
Took it easy in the heat. We just come to run the main.
Right.
But if you got close, you get up there and try to run the trophy dash. and
Right.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
If you,
It's a
if
little
you had
bit different now.
a good opportunity, go up there and
Yeah, but I missed some opportunity to get good in the mud. Now I'm racing X mods and the X mods, B mods, same thing. But now it's like I got to go race in the mud, and I just suck in the mud. I never figured it out, so I'm like, dang it, I need.
Do they have mud down there?
Sandia has mud,
But
yeah.
they don't in Nevada. There's no. It's just
Not too bad, but it's still kind of slick when
Really?
you're out in your heat. Well, not so much in the X mods. I was in super trucks and pure stocks before that, and it was pretty. The track was pretty squirrely.
our tracks. Mud is this deep, just hanging off the cars.
Yeah,
It was really bad. They had a track, and that track they had in Albuquerque, it was worse than I'd ever seen in my life. The mud there was just, you couldn't get it off.
Yeah, that sounds like Grants. There's a track called Grants, and that's how the mud was
No,
there.
you can't.
I mean, it looked like a lowrider when you
Yeah,
came
you
in.
came.
It just stuck to everything, and yeah, that was a fun track though, because the clay was super tacky, so it was pretty well hammered down.
Royal was trying to get, and I don't think it was Royal. I think it was Tommy. Before that, they were working on that IMCA class pretty good, and they wanted to make the IMCA class their premier class, and move the sprint cars in and out, and they hadn't figured everything about those IMCAs yet good. And they'd start a 20 car or 22 car or 24 car or main event, and they would spend 2 hours, one yellow after another yellow after. Well, the crowd would go home.
Right.
So Tommy quit. He said, "No, we're going to put the street stocks last.
Gotcha.
Keep the crowd here. Keep them buying beer, because when they had the IMCAs last, people, as soon as the street stocks over, they left.
Yeah. People want to see good racing.
Yeah, it was good
And
racing.
it sounds like you had 3 or 4 badasses.
And the IMCAs were not a bad thing, except it's just one yellow after another, just one yellow after another, and you're just tired of that. And it's midnight, you're tired.
Yeah.
Let's go home.
Yep.
We don't
Yeah.
care who wins this race.
That happens out at Vado too, especially if the wind's blowing or whatever.
Yeah.
People, like, you get out and you're in Victory Lane, you look and there's 12 people up there, and 8 of them are your family. So it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm glad you guys stayed.
Yeah, I'm glad you all stayed.
Yeah. Yeah, but I understand, fans don't want to be there all night. If there's a lot of cautions and that's like, all right, we're going to go home.
Back in those days, Donnie Byers came up with that V6. And he just killed everybody for just a little bit, because he could get all his to the ground.
Yep.
And people were doing everything with that V8s. Then all of a sudden they started with their pull bars, and they started learning how to get it to the ground.
Yeah.
Then that V6 was nothing. Then it was.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm fighting that right now.
Jimmy Ray bought it. In fact, Jimmy Ray bought the car from Donnie and ran it just a little bit. But by that time they were figuring it out, figuring out what to do. I ran an IMCA a little bit, like to kill myself in it, but it was. You couldn't turn. You couldn't get them to turn. You're trying to, they're just, when you got to the corner, there wasn't nothing to make the car turn. And it was tough getting them around the corner. And it wasn't just me. Everybody was having trouble.
Weird. I wonder what was up with that. Front end geometry or what?
I don't know, but I sat right there and I watched, and I know how a car works. When you step on the gas, the front end riffs.
Right.
And coming out of turn 2, the modifieds go down, and they were growing. They were putting that weight on the front tires.
Yeah,
they got to the corner, they could turn.
Right.
But I mean, you're looking at a car take off out of turn 2, and it's just gaining. Instead of the front end coming up, the back end's coming up.
Yeah.
I said, "You guys are figuring this out."
Yeah. They still do that. They still hype
Yeah,
a lot.
they still.
Yeah.
But that made all the difference. Now somebody can make the IMCA or the modified work.
Yeah. I
But
asked
before
somebody-
that, the tires and trying to get them to go around the corner, for me, was not. I never was any good at it at all.
Yeah.
I like my old street stock with leaf springs, and I like that.
Yeah. We raced Sandia a couple weekends ago, and when we were done, we got 5th, and that's fine for first 10 races. Top 5's good, I think. But I always reach out to people that are there and say, what does my car look like? Why am I not going forward? Am I overdriving it? What am I doing? And he said, your car's not hiking at all, buddy. It's too flat. And so what you said is right. I got to work on getting that.
Getting it to climb with.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're doing, but whatever they're doing, it's doing it.
Yeah, yeah, yep. Fun time. So,
Climbing the county.
wait, so you were born and raised here in Las Cruces?
I'm born
And what year were you born?
in 1946.
Wow. Okay. Just after World War II, was it just ending right then?
World War II ended in 45, and I out here. You know where? Back when you leave town and you go up on the hill before you get to Sonoma Ranch and that first road is Roadrunner.
Mm-hmm.
Off to your left, out there, between there and the hill, that's where the racetrack was at.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they had I was born, and they had a track out there, and some friends of mine, they drove them old cars.
Mm-hmm.
They looked like Model A's and
Oh, wow.
some 34 Fords and stuff like
Dang.
that. They had V8s in them, but that's what they had. But I was 5 years old, and my mother was a race car fan, and me and her, she'd take me out there, and I'd play in the dirt.
Yeah.
Right there playing wood. She'd go to races. My dad wouldn't go.
Yeah.
She would go to races.
Yep. Nice.
She's always our biggest fan, and she's always loved races.
Cool. Wasn't there a track? I think Mr. Crit was telling me there's a track down in the flats between where the freeway is now.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
it's because if you head that way, the Interstate 25 is there. It's you just go up
Right
there, but you'd go up that hill and it was down in there like it, and it was there. When I was in high school, that track was still there. It was abandoned,
Okay.
but it was still right there.
Wow, that's cool.
No lights, no nothing out there. They just run during the day, just.
Wow, that's couldn't afford electricity back then, right?
And it didn't cost nothing to go to the races. They had the racetrack down in the bottom, and the hill up there. People just park on the hill
Wow,
and watch the races.
cool. Man, that's some different days there, huh? Where you could just watch for free.
Just watch, yeah. They just come.
Everything didn't cost you money. You leave the house now. My
Oh.
mom's like, it costs me $100 every time I leave the house.
$100 don't go very far.
No, not at all. Yeah, those were
Doesn't go
different
very
times.
far.
Different times, and the camaraderie was good too back then, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's kind of faded a little bit, especially if you start doing good. Nobody wants to hear. And I'm happy to share all my secrets. I don't care. I'm like, let's all be fast, but the camaraderie is not what it used to be, even in the 90s when I was here in the Air Force.
I forget who it was interviewing him, but Jeff Gordon was being interviewed by some sports guy, and he said, "I don't understand. Everybody hates you. They boo you." And he said, "You're the very best there is, and they hate you." And they said, when they're playing basketball and Michael Jordan shows up, everybody goes to see him, even if he's on the other team.
Yeah.
Everybody does that because he's good.
Yeah.
And they said, "You're the best," and they hate you.
Yeah.
Jeff Gordon said, "Yeah." He said, "That's just racing."
Yeah,
That's
it
just,
is. It
that's
is.
just racing.
It is. And what Martin explained to me early on, the first year, he said, all right, well, you started winning. And he said, now that you're winning, I can tell you that you're the biggest cheating SOB out there. You cheat more. And he said, you know why they know? Because they're cheating their asses off and they can't catch you. And I was like, and that's rang true the whole time. I mean, I'll take my truck and when I was in the trucks, I told them, you guys, we don't have to do tech there. You can come to my shop and tear my whole truck apart. I never want to be accused of being a cheater. And I told the truck class president, the tech guy, I told John DiMartino, if you ever want to come and check my truck, do it here where there's not a bunch of dust and dirt in the air. Come and check it anytime you want, unannounced. And so when people say, oh, you're the biggest cheating, I'm like, I don't know if you've ever told anybody that. Come check over my truck. I'll put it on a lift. You can look top to bottom. Nobody else does that, but they think you're the biggest cheater because you're winning. I had a stock engine with a cam that's legal the first year I was racing trucks, and I won with that a few times, and people were just like, you're cheating, you're this, you're that. I'm like, I don't know. Like you said with that V6 though, I think there's days at the track that less horsepower is an advantage because you're not spinning your tires.
Today we have rev limiters and we have all kind of fancy shit. Back in the day, I thought this is the craziest thing I've ever seen. Before the sprint cars, they had super modifieds.
Yeah.
You know what that is?
Super modified?
It's a sprint car. But you know that little cone in the back, that tail piece?
Mm-hmm.
They had a Caterpillar battery back there. And just like they do now, they just push the starter and it started in gear and it'd go.
I got you.
And now they got a push starter. But
Yeah.
they had that great big Caterpillar battery back in there.
Mm-hmm.
And these cars look good and they look like a sprint car. But these guys had a wire hooked to a spark plug and they jerked spark plug wire off. That sprint car would be wide open like that. When their tires were lighting up, it just jerked a spark plug wire off.
No way. That's
And you thought,
amazing.
now that's crude. Then they just go to moving to the front.
Right.
Sonny Holden was famous for that. I'd sit there,
Right.
when the track would dry out, he'd just jerk a spark plug wire off
Wow.
and just walk away from them.
That's amazing.
Now, rev limiters and all the stuff they do,
Right.
but that was the trick then, is jerk that spark plug wire off.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's crazy. Yeah, we're all as racers looking for more horsepower, but
Yeah.
I know when I went to Sandia last time, my horsepower was a disadvantage because I had
Yeah.
too much tire spin. For
And
sure.
it's hard to feather that foot.
Well, it is. If you see somebody blow by you, your first instinct is to stomp on it, and then you spin the tires and go back 2 more spots.
Yeah.
So it's hard. You got to
Yeah.
get really disciplined with the throttle and not overdrive. Overdriving, to me, is worse than underdriving. If you underdrive, it seems like you go forward. Whenever I overdrive and I miss a turn and I go backwards, people just go right around you. So
I was telling you about that race where me and Minx and Krista Georges ran down there. Martin had taken that car and we'd fine-tuned it. We'd work on it. Our main track is right here, but we'd go down to El Paso. And he finally got that car going to where you never turn the steering wheel. Never turn it. You just take that throttle and stand on it, coming out of turn 4, and it just crowds the wall. And just before you hit the wall, kind of feather it, and it just takes that corner.
No way.
And as you get around the corner, you stand on it, and you want to aim towards the bottom. And then it's as the throttle goes, it's going to climb to the top,
Trips up.
and you're ready for the next corner. And you don't move that wheel hardly nothing.
wow.
And now that was fun.
Yeah.
And it's because he fixed it up where it'd go like it, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well, you guys didn't have a wall all the way around either. Votto has a wall all the way around. And this guy told me, Hartman, I want you to just stand on it and don't let off. I'm like, I'm not doing that, Martin, at all. You're never going to get me to just stand on the throttle and hope for the best. So, but yeah, now I know that he was telling the truth because you did it.
Yeah.
You just barely feathered
Yeah,
the
just
throttle.
and I didn't, like I said, it took me a few laps to figure out, I don't have to turn this steering wheel. Just keep standing in it, and as I feather it, it'll turn itself.
Yeah. Now we have 6-to-1 sweet boxes and that steering boxes,
Yeah.
and I race with 3 fingers. Usually, I'm just out on when my X mod is set up right, it's a 3-finger, and I'm not doing anything.
Yeah.
It's really easy.
Just barely moves. Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm bracing myself up against the interior with my right hand and just
Well, you got these steering boxes. My first stuff that I messed with was just straight steering, no quickener.
okay.
But I don't know how much they had them, but our track, the poor people here, they would take reduction gears and put 2 reduction gears in with a little chain between it.
Wow.
And I said, that's pretty good.
That's
And
their
it wasn't
quickener?
too long until the factory they come out with reduction deals
Yeah,
right there.
yeah.
I bet Martin probably put one of them chains together like that, because
bet.
you'd see a bicycle chain
Yeah.
between the
Yeah.
steering wheel and the column
Yeah.
that goes down to the.
Do you know Don Davis? He was an NHRA, he was a chassis builder and
Sounds familiar.
real good at car setup, and he loves the modifieds. He loves setting up race cars, and he teaches clinics here. And but Tim Munn, my car chief, said, "Oh, Don Davis is coming to help you. Tell him to go look at that pure stock on the trailer out behind your shop." And he said, "Just show him the quickener in there." And Don Davis cast his own. He made his own quickener
Did he?
before everybody and cast it.
Yeah.
It's all, I think, cast aluminum. It's awesome. And you should have seen Don's 80 something.
Oh, really?
And he got the biggest smile on his face. He's like, "I built that." I'm like, "I heard."
Yeah, like I said, that one with the bicycle chain going around it, I didn't ever have one because they come out with the other, and I bought one of the
Okay.
quickener. Bought
Yeah.
a quickener for it.
Gotcha. Yep.
But my next step was to get that because I knew I needed it.
Yeah.
I
Oh
knew I needed
man.
it.
Oh man. When you get crossed up and you can't get the
When
wheel,
you're spinning it like that ain't no good.
like a school bus driver.
That ain't no good.
Yeah.
And you do everything stupid. For the first one I put together, I put my seat just as far back from the steering wheel as I could get, because I seen somebody do that. Well, that's the worst thing in the world. I want it right here.
Yeah, you don't have any leverage.
Yeah,
Except for when you guys crash, you didn't have the collapsible steering shafts back then.
But
they were built so heavy, you were probably fine. They were heavy
the car
duty.
was plenty. Our car weighed 4,000 pounds.
Yeah, big old giant bumper in the front and everything. Yeah. So, what was the worst crash you ever been in? You had to have crashed a couple times. Did you ever catch on fire?
No.
Oh, good.
I wound up with buying an Imca and a street stock from Jay Spivey. And Rodney, my friend, he took the stock car, because I had this one me and Martin are driving, and I took that Imca, and I ran it in El Paso and did real good, and ran it in Tucson, did good with it. And we got it all fixed up, got the motor freshened in it and everything. And I put it in myself. Just 4 bolts, just with the hoist, I put it like that. Rigged it all up, put the carburetor on it, ran it through its cycled, and I'm a mechanic. I didn't know how good a mechanic I was.
Yeah, you have to.
And come out here, and in the heat, I'm kind of feathering it along, and coming out of 4, I opened it up. And when I got to turn 1, the linkage had locked down, and it had broke over center. I just checked it, and it locked down, and my throttle was locked wide open. I went right through the wall.
Wow.
I'm running wide open, it's running right at 100, and got the wall, the fence, big motor grader. I missed the motor grader. I landed way off out there in the middle, like to have killed myself.
Southern Speedway? Yeah, wow.
Okay, then they call me the flying farmer.
Yeah,
because I flew through the air, not because I was fast.
Yeah.
Because I did. I just was airborne right there.
Yeah, they make crap up every time. I caught on fire twice in 1 year. Now they call me the Burning
Really?
Man. Yeah, it was pretty bad.
Did it get you fire and hurt you any?
No, I just had an aluminum block motor, and it just went boom right out the gate. And yeah, I was racing Christy George's, Barnett now, but
Oh yeah.
and I was in the lead, and I was so happy. I was trying out this new motor, and I was in the lead, and I knew she was coming because she and I were always up there. And so you see the oil pressure doing this with 2 laps to go, and I was like, no, hold together, hold together. And so I started babying it, and then I babied it down the back stretch on like a lap to go or final lap, just a final lap. And then it went boom, and she went right by me, and I had flames like 30 feet shooting out the back, and my wife's eyes were this big. And how much longer are you going to do this, Michael? I'm like, did you see how fast the track crew got to me? They're amazing. They put that fire out so fast. You see how fast I got out of that race car?
No, I never did. I can't remember any. They went through the wall. Then when we was in Tularosa, Tony, our buddy over there, me and him got it. He ran into the side of the car, and me on the infield.
Yeah.
There's the wrecks, and I was trying to get away from the wrecks, and I went to the infield to get away from it, and he come right through there and ran over me in the infield.
Wow. Yeah.
That hurt really bad.
Yeah.
The impacts.
Yeah. So if you take them wrong, if you take them on the side of the car, it seems like it would be pretty bad. Because all your seatbelts and stuff are for a frontal impact. It seems like they help on the side, but your arms and stuff get rattled around.
That one, when went through the wall, it hurt your back. I was sick till I finally went to the chiropractor, and he straightened me back out, but it popped everything loose.
Okay.
I couldn't hardly breathe.
Gotcha.
Finally, I found this chiropractor. Can you help me? And he said, yeah, you need some help here. And that's what I needed.
Put you back
that
together.
impact popped everything out right there.
I bet it took a few months to get it to settle down, and it wasn't one trip, right, to the chiropractor. That's months of going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, I sold the What's the hot shoes out of Alamogordo? What's their name?
I know who you're talking about.
McCutcheon.
McCutcheon? Yeah.
They bought it. They
Oh,
bought
okay.
both pieces. I had 2 pieces there. They bought the car, and he took it. McCutcheon, I think. McCutcheon.
Yeah. They've been racing
But
forever.
probably not the one you're with, but his dad probably was that.
No, I think his grandson or great grandson is racing sprints now, about this tall. And,
Oh, right.
yeah, they're a legendary family and just the coolest people.
Yeah, they're good. They're
Yeah,
good
you
people.
park next to them in the pits and you have a good time. They're just happy and good people.
Well, I had a good motor and I had a lot of good parts, but the car, the frame, and it just destroyed that. And so
Yeah,
they had another car they're going to take and rebuild it and put it together.
yeah, they know all about racing. I don't know what they do for a living, but they're really good. They
Yeah,
can probably make a living racing and building
pretty
cars.
good with the cars. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was your career path? What did you do right out of high school? Did you start working? You probably, back then they started working at young,
I
right?
farmed all my life.
Okay.
We farmed all right there.
Yeah.
I left home and made a trip for a couple of winters in Alaska, but I came back to farming.
Okay. And did you take over your family's farm or?
No, I finally did take over my dad's part of it right there, but when I come back from Alaska, I had rented a farm over there, and then there was another old man liked me real well, and he sold me his farm, and so
Okay. What were you farming?
cotton, hay, and chili,
Okay.
onions, lettuce, everything.
And were you an Aggie? Did you go to this school?
I went to college out there at the state of Vietnam.
Oh, okay. Did you? Right here?
I had no desire to go to school,
Mm-hmm.
and I graduated and just having a good time, working, just doing things. And somebody said, "Are you going to school?" I said, "No, I ain't going to school." And they said, "It's either that or Vietnam." I said, "You got to be kidding."
School sounds good.
So I went in and enrolled.
I'm real smart.
So I went in and enrolled. It's not very patriotic, but that's what I did. I said, I don't want to go to Vietnam.
I like your plan better than heading over there.
So that's where I spent my Vietnam, was in school. Over
Good. Good for you. Good for you. That's a big deal. And then you got married, huh? You got married and started having kids. Sounds
Got
like
a lot of kids. We're married and divorced and kids, and then I just took it. But I had 4 kids, and then I married a lady that had a son the same age as my son, and so I raised 5.
Okay.
And we didn't make it. We went our separate ways. And
Yeah. Well, she gave you 5 kids, right?
right now, I've been with this one. We've been together for 23 years.
Wow, that's amazing. That's a lot. That's a lot to go through.
That's a
20-something
lot.
years. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're proud of that. I'm sure. Really proud of it.
So I've been married for all my life, just not to the same one.
Yeah. That's all right. I had an old boss from New York, and he was a drag racer or something. He took a helmet to the face in a pit fight, and they choked him out, and so his voice was all growly. And when I first met him, he was a big, tall guy from New York, and he said, "Now, Hartman, you ever been divorced?" And I was like, "Yes, sir." And he said, "That's good. I don't trust nobody unless you've been divorced at least once." I'm like, "Okay, I guess I'm in then."
I'm married. That's me.
Yeah, he was funny.
Oh, yeah.
Funny
Now,
guy.
we farmed, and I finally got into the land laser business.
Okay.
And so that's why I had that equipment for Tommy Black's track up there.
Okay.
I had paddle wheel scrapers and then the regular tractors hooked on the finished grade scrapers and stuff.
Okay. Good. Wow, that's some work. You're a worker.
Yeah, and it made us some good money.
Yeah.
Better than farming did, that's for sure.
Good. Yeah, moving dirt. Yeah.
And that worked out real good. And then we kind of we leveled the ground from El Paso all the way to Albuquerque doing stuff, and everything kind of got level, and I quit.
Things slowed down
I'm
probably,
done.
right? And, okay.
I'm done.
Sell all the equipment and enjoy some later years. Some grandkids.
And then I sold the farms we had in Deming and over here, and then the place I live on, I kept 3 acres and the house, and that was in 2008. I've been retired ever since 2008.
Nice. There you go. Yeah. So what are you doing? Nobody really retires. What are you doing to kill time?
Oh, I mess with the guitars, and I build a lot of baskets and ropes out of roping ropes.
Cool.
I take these used roping ropes, and I sit there in my garage and make stuff out of it.
Weave some stuff into it. Wow,
I enjoy doing that kind of
that's
stuff.
cool. Yeah,
And I do a lot of woodwork. A lot of woodwork.
really cool. Yeah, my car chief, he's in his mid-70s, late 70s, and I said, yeah, I got to get all this stuff paid off so I can retire and just go race. And he said, let me tell you something. You don't ever retire. I mean, you're going to have to find a way to make a living forever because of inflation and everything. The dollar just doesn't go as far as you hope it would. So he said, just plan on working your whole life. And you don't want to sit in a rocking chair anyway, so staying busy like that is the way to go.
I stay plenty busy.
Right. Well, you got how many grandchildren and
Like I said,
great-grandchildren?
I got 10 great-grandkids right now, and between going to their graduations and having them born and going to first grades and
Yeah.
all the little stuff they do, and
That'll keep
then
you
my
busy.
grandkids, I got a grandson turning 18, and he'll graduate out of high school in Phoenix this year, so I'll be going over there.
Nice. Yeah, that'll keep you
And
busy.
I had a granddaughter, stayed with me the last 3 days, and she just left this morning, going back to Texas, so
Okay.
coming over to visit. So
Heck yeah. Yeah, I always say people have nice stuff, but I'm never envious of people's stuff, not even race cars. I'm envious of grandchildren and great-grandchildren and just a life well lived. I try to surround myself with the people that I know they got it. Nobody has it figured out, but like Martin, he's got a lot going on
he
up
does
there.
good. He does good there.
Yeah, and Tim Munn and Don Davis, they got some stuff figured out.
I have no complaints. Like I said, this racing this day and time is way out of my league financially wise, and just the technology and being able to do it. And like me and Martin was laughing. I said, I may get in the car. I couldn't get out. I can't get out. I can't get out.
Yeah, it's something else now. I mean, even I've been racing 3 years now, a little over 3 years, and it's changed a lot in the 3 years that I've been around. And the money it's unfortunate, but you have to have money to do this sport and do well. You can go do it, but it's a tough thing to digest. That those with a lot of money. When I was growing up, I could beat people at soccer. I could beat people at BMX. And we were poor, really poor. This is a little bit of a different animal. You got to throw some stuff at it to compete. You can't just be good. You got to be good and have some money.
Well, I did real good on racing, but I wasn't fast. I'm pretty consistent.
Yeah.
And probably I was old enough that I probably did a better job avoiding different problems. But far as when we're real fast, I did win my share, but mainly just out of they changed some rules because of me.
Yeah.
The fast guy starting the back, high point bind starting the back, and we're dead last. And when the flagman shakes the flag, go. And these guys are in the front. They can't even see that flagman. I can in the very back.
Blast by him.
And I'd have half the field passed
Yeah.
by the time we got to the first corner.
Yeah.
Well, they changed it and they put that line out across there. I was the reason they did that. Okay.
Gotcha.
And we're going to stop him from doing that.
Yeah.
Nobody passes nobody till you cross this
Gotcha.
imaginary, they put a little chalk line out there.
Yeah. Gotcha.
But before that, when the flagman shook the flag,
Yep.
we just took off.
You have to go. It's time to go. Yeah.
That changed a lot of that on us.
That's one of my favorite parts. You love winning. That's the very favorite. When you cross the finish line first, of course, that's a favorite. But the start, when everybody's just angry animals, oh man, that's so awesome.
Well, me and Ivan, we both won a lot of races, and we had exact opposite thinking. Ivan wanted to start on pole and lead every lap.
Mm-hmm.
I never wanted to lead a lap, but the last one.
Yeah.
That's the only lap. I hated leading a race worse than anything in the world.
Yeah.
I want to be second.
Yeah.
I want to be second right there. Or I don't want to be in the pole.
Right.
And he wants to be on the pole.
Yeah.
And he liked it up there, and I did not like it up there. I said, on the last lap, that's when I want to be there. I want to get there.
Right.
But I enjoyed, more than winning, I enjoyed passing. Just over,
Yeah.
take a car take a car on this turn, take
Yeah.
one. I like that better than anything.
I do like second too. I learned a lot from the people that were out front, like you say.
Watch them.
I've always watched their line. I watch when they pick up the throttle. I watch when they hit the brake and how they go about their business. And you learn a lot just by watching the people up front.
Pay good attention like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good time. Yep. Well, man. What's some other stories you got? I know you got a couple of stories.
Oh, we were racing in the Zeals. Do you know who Ricky Zeal is?
Yeah.
He's got a dad named Rick,
Okay.
and he's big as a mountain. He's just huge. He's the same age I am. We went to school together, and he's just a giant. And me and Rick, he was running the street stock with me, and we were going down that front straightaway, and his right wheels got up on the wall and flipped. And they thought I'd put him in the wall. And when I got stopped, big Rick had me by trying to pull me out of there. I ain't about to pull his helmet off. I ain't about to get out.
Right.
And then Paul Zeal and them come over and said, no, Bill didn't do that.
Right.
And he said, Rick did that to himself. But I said, if you think I'm getting out,
Right.
I'm going to have to leave his helmet on.
Well, I've
Because
heard
he
a
was
lot of
trying,
those.
it was his kid
Yeah.
that just took a flip.
Yep.
And he blaming me for it. And I said,
I've been there already.
I don't think we ever touched. I don't remember touching.
Right.
But we could have touched, but I didn't feel anything. But his car climbed that wall and he went to rolling down through.
Yeah, I've been there a time or two.
And he thought he was going to kill me over that.
Yeah. I mean, I never flipped, but other guys I was racing flipped, and that's never good.
Yeah.
No.
And we had a lot of fun. A lot of things happened. There was something exciting every Friday or Saturday night we raced out here. Like I said, they had the radio carried us live. We had newspapers out there taking pictures, and come Monday morning, somebody's pictures, all of the winners are pictures and paper and program. It was just like you read about the football, the baseball, and the Sea Valley Raceway.
Okay. Yeah. How many different names has been out there at the fairgrounds? There's like 3 or 4, wasn't
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
Sertoma, it was several, but Tommy had, I think it was Mesilla Valley Raceway, I think.
it? Okay. And Southern New Mexico Speedway or something like that too, right? Southern?
Southern New Mexico. No, I think that's Royal.
Oh,
I
was
think it was Mesilla Valley Raceway, and I think when Royal took it, he called it Southern.
Oh,
I
okay.
think Royal called it that.
I see. Maybe they make you change the name if you take over
Yeah,
the track
I don't
or
know,
something.
but I think Royal's one. I think it was Mesilla Valley Raceway when Tommy had it.
Okay. Huh. Interesting. Yeah.
Well, we had, the mud was a big deal. I mean, a lot of times come main event time, it's still pretty muddy.
Yeah.
And if you had, the track was just right, and you're looking for a spot out there that's the heaviest to keep that right rear in it, if you can. Now, it's bone dry before they start almost.
Right.
It can be.
What did you do for tear-offs back in the day? 'Cause
They had tear-offs.
you did?
Yeah,
No kidding.
we had tear-offs.
Back in the 70s, 60s, 70s?
Well, this was
You
in
started in the
this was
80s.
in all mainly starting in the 80s. I started in 79, but I didn't really go to running. Probably I ran it one time in 79. In the 80s, yeah, you get tear-offs.
Okay. All right.
Because down there at Dick Harrell's at that time, with Rick and them, I bought a helmet there and did tear-offs for it.
Oh, okay. Good. Fun stuff. What do you think about society today? I'm just moving away from racing a little bit. You've seen a couple of changes in the world. What do you think about just the general direction of the world in general and people? And
Well, the world, like I said, when the economy went bad in 2007, it hurt NASCAR, it's hurt everybody. But I get stories from people that are back east, and their dirt tracks are packed.
right, I've heard that.
They're packed. Well, ours aren't. NASCAR's not packed,
Right,
and we're not packed.
right.
And I was in Phoenix with the race over, and they weren't packed over there in Phoenix. They
Okay.
just people there. It wasn't just packed.
Yeah,
But they said back east, and Ohio, and
that's weird. I wonder what the deal is, if there's just more to do, that people don't want to go to a racetrack and be all dusty and dirty all day, or all night.
I don't
I'm
know.
curious about
You
that.
got to make it. like I said, there's what's for me. I'm an old man, and I don't go to the races. But when I go, it's not a good experience.
Oh, really?
I go here, and I've went in Phoenix, and the noise is so loud you cannot hear the announcer
Okay.
at all. You just hear somebody scrambling. They don't have a program, so you have no idea who nobody is.
Okay.
And if you're not in it like you're in it, you can't tell an A mod from a B mod.
Right.
You can't hardly tell that from a lane mod.
Right. Even a 305 sprint car
Yeah.
versus a 410, they just look like a bunch of winged cars
And
going
so
real
they
fast.
were going. You'd sit there and they would throw the green flag, and these guys would go 8 laps and go off the track, and a new track bunch would come on, and 1 lap they race it again. And I don't know anybody. I don't know what class it is,
Okay.
and there's no program.
Gotcha.
So I have no idea. Henry Brunley was in the infield. So I got him on the phone, and he got me all lined up. I said, this is who's running now. He said, I'll call you back. He'd call me, tell me who's out,
Okay.
what number they're in.
Yeah, that was a different day and age.
But I just don't know nothing like it. Well, racing, back in my day, was the hottest thing in cruises. No dances, no movies, nothing compared to that racetrack. They packed the stands every night. Fights, cops called, rain was out, everything, but the crowd was there. And I was there as a good guy, and I was there as a villain. Ivan was there as a villain. Several people, they liked that.
Yeah.
And they were up there in the stands, it was just like a casino.
Right.
People betting.
Really?
Oh yeah,
Oh, man.
there were dollars or betting beer, but they were just gambling,
Yeah.
constantly going on. Okay, who's up this race? They knew who was out there. They know every driver. They like some and they hate some,
Yeah.
but they're part of it.
Yeah.
And we seen what this guy did. Next week they're going to get even. We're coming back.
Yeah. Gotcha.
We're coming back,
For the storyline. Yeah. For
We're
the
coming
storyline
back
as
for
much
that.
as the race.
and that's the way it was, And it all went away. It all.
Yeah. I don't know.
And so I don't know if there's any getting that back or not, but there was a big deal about not letting the races go too late.
Right.
Nobody complained about it back in those. Nobody.
Yeah, they rush them now.
Yeah.
They rush them in a little bit of an unsafe manner. They rush things.
Yeah,
I'm like,
back
dude,
in
relax.
Tommy Black's deal,
Yeah.
and people were fussing at Tommy, but the crowd was there.
Sometimes they don't throw cautions when I'm like, dude, that guy's been stopped on the track for 2 laps, you got it. But it seems like they're more interested in keeping the show going, and I'm sure it's to keep the fans in the stands
Right.
and to, make them want to come back, not drag on the show too long. And in Vado, we also have a curfew too. We got to shut down
Yeah.
all the sound by a certain time.
Yeah, well, a lot of tracks have that. A lot of tracks out there at the fairgrounds, there was nothing. You just
There you go.
run all night long.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
But I think I don't know if you can ever get that back. But whenever they lost the fan interest in it, and I'm going to go back next week to see this guy take this guy out.
yeah.
Not just to see this guy win. I want him to take him out.
Yep.
And not just one person, just hundreds of people show up for that kind of stuff. So,
The powers that be will squash that right now. You can't show, I've learned this, my last race in the Super Truck, show zero personality, show zero heart, or
really,
it's very much, we're going to, and I know there's a way to do it, and maybe I did it the wrong way, but they don't want you to to me, it's taking all the heart out of, if you want us all to be zombies out there and not say nothing about nothing and not have any emotion when somebody just put you on the wall, then I guess I can play that, but we're never going to have fans in the stands. I can tell you that.
well, you're not running cars like we had. The cars that we started with were all loose. You got to have a loose car, and we have no way to get around the corner. So you drive just as fast as you can, and somewhere past the flag tower, you pitch the car sideways.
Yeah, there you go.
Everybody does, and so they're just in a drift and then go again. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Now you're like in a carnival ride.
Yeah.
There's 2 or 3 of you, and you're just in a drift.
Yeah.
And go again, and everybody pitches it.
Yeah.
Well, we were doing that, and it was me and Lonnie Teague and I think Royal. And the three of us just pitched it. And we were beautiful. We just pitched it. And about 2 laps later, Scott Luxton drove right around the bottom of us
Oh, wow.
and beat all three of us. And we come back to the pitch. I said, "You see what he did?" And he didn't throw that car sideways.
Yeah.
He'd got to.
He learned how to
He
drive
learned how to
in
do it
there.
like that. He just drove the car straight right around the bottom of us, and we're up there just in a nice drift, you know.
Yeah.
And he's gone. Taught us a good lesson.
Yeah. Well, things evolve.
Yeah.
You know, what works this week, it
And-
doesn't work next week.
Everybody, you got guys throwing the car sideways like forever. I want to throw the car sideways. I want
Yeah.
to throw it sideways.
Yeah.
No, you drive it on in, drive it through that corner.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think we do need a track where people can show their personality and do their thing.
And
And just have a fight. If you're going to have a fight, do it on the front straightaway so the fans can see it.
yeah.
No nothing in your hands. Just have a fight right there.
Well, we had we had an old guy out there named Billy Smith, and he's older than me, but his dad and everything, he kind of wasn't quite right. And I heard his dad tell, these are real hillbillies, you know. I heard his dad tell him, "If you can't win, turn it over."
Wow.
And you would see the cars going by him. And he would come out of turn 4, just throw it sideways, and it just flipped. And the fans love it.
Yeah.
The fans just love it. He never hurt himself, but that car did roll right over right
It's a
there.
big deal, yeah.
But he said, "If you can't win, roll it." And I
Yeah.
heard him tell him that.
Yeah.
He said, "Okay, Dad,
Yeah. Yep.
roll it."
Yeah. I'm surprised that they did that on purpose. That's a lot of money, but
No, they weren't. No,
there wasn't any money in it.
no. These are claimers.
Oh, I get you.
And they've just fixed them up, and it's not like what you're driving here. These cars are $200 cars,
I got
and
you.
they've fixed up.
Knocked the windows out and went racing.
And we had Bob. Well, of course, I ran a good Camaro, and there was a couple of Fords that wasn't bad, and Bob Eilette come out there with a Rambler. It's a joke. He ran right. He couldn't outrun us, but he's right with us. He's just right there. And every now and then he'd win a race. He'd win a race with that, so he'd be in the right position. He ain't gonna outrun us with everything just right. But with that old Rambler, he's winning races.
Wow.
You look him out there and can't believe it. It handled pretty good. It worked pretty good.
Yeah. Did you see that little Honda Civic from Alamogordo when you were out at Vado?
Huh?
Yeah, there's a little four-banger out there, and he goes around the turns with one wheel up off the ground and
Oh,
just,
yeah.
but front-wheel drive, so he doesn't have a weight rule or anything for being a four-cylinder car, and
Oh.
he does really good. It's funny to watch, and doesn't sound very good, but that's my buddy. I can talk trash about how his car sounds, but yeah, he does really good. It's always fun when you watch a car that doesn't look like it should do any good, and you go out and kick butt in it.
Well, you know, I wasn't a Legends fan. It's on the short track, they're not bad, but on the long track, they wasn't very good. But when I was in Phoenix, they had this class, and it looked just like them, but it wasn't. It was open wheel type of thing, and now these cars were fast and good, and they were
a Bandolero or what?
but they looked just like them,
Okay,
just like a Legend.
okay,
Look just like what, and you get to look at, well, that ain't a Legend either. That ain't a Legend.
okay.
And they had a class of cars out there, and I wasn't expecting to. Is gonna go to the snack bar and get a beer. You know, about that time they were good, though.
Yeah,
you guys
good.
put on a good show.
Good. Yeah, it's fun.
It was a track. We was at the old Canyon racetrack. That one was at the Canyon racetrack they had.
Do you guys ever, was it always just claimers, or did you have a way for kids to get into racing from a younger
Well,
age?
I told you when I was out there and found that car, there were claimers, and within a couple of years there wasn't no claimers. They shut it. They'd quit. There wasn't no claimer. There was hobby stocks and straight stock, but they didn't do anything with claimers for a long time. They started coming back with that, but that was I'd quit racing.
What about the youth? Were they in dirt go-karts or anything like that back in the day, bringing them up through the ranks? Or
They had, I don't remember anything like that. They had a place out there by the fairgrounds. They ran some go-karts, but it was like on a Sunday afternoon, and I just didn't go.
Gotcha.
But at our track, we ran They had some bicycles out there, but they had some motorcycles. They had some flat track motorcycles, and they was getting it. They didn't have a bunch, but Tommy would put them on the track too.
Yeah, I got you. That's
So
cool.
we come out there with them three-wheelers. The three-wheeler have a race, motorcycle have a race.
Yeah, one of the first times I talked to Christy Georges, I asked her if she felt safe out there or whatever, and she goes, "Well, hell yeah, I grew up racing on three-wheelers out in this stuff." She's like, "I got a cage around me now." I was like, that makes sense, and that's how I was. I grew up racing dirt bikes, and so it's not too big of a deal to get in something with a cage. You can take a pretty good lick and be all right.
Well, I think, and I'd forgot about it, but Richard Wilby and them were kids. They were kids.
Yeah.
And he was running a motorcycle out there.
Okay.
Yeah, he was out there, and
You know he still races sprint
Yeah.
cars? Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I seen Richard here a while back, but running that sprint cars out there. But he's on that motorcycle. He's on that motorcycle out there.
And Sal Ferralis, I think, is his car chief. And those guys are still having a good time. They go out there and they just have a real good time.
Sal?
Yeah.
Martin had I don't know where he got it. He put a piece of shit together. And I don't know if we ran out of money or what he did, but he had this little 355, and Martin, everything in it come out of the junkyard, and it was just junk. And we put it aside. Well, I had a pretty good motor. And motor went bad. So we pulled that good motor of mine out and put that junk in there till we could get it fixed. And I was flying.
Yeah.
I was doing good.
Yeah, it's weird how that works.
And no oil pressure, no nothing.
Yeah.
And it just barely living.
Yep.
Anyway, I got my motor back. And Sal blew his up. And Sal said, "Can we borrow that old junk motor?" And Sal beat me with that old.
Yeah,
he
that's
beat
how-
me with Martin's old junk motor,
I
and I
always
got this
giggle.
brand new 383.
Yep.
And he beat me.
I always giggle because I beat a lot of people with a junkyard motor.
Yeah.
It was really under $2,000 top to bottom, oil pan, everything. And I'm like, you guys have no idea what I got in this truck right
Yeah.
here. You know, I can't believe you're calling me a cheater because I beat you. I got nothing.
Yeah.
Once I blew those other two motors up, I had to go to a junkyard motor and same thing. Yeah.
You know, the oil pressure's not going to be good. It's just going to scare you to death. It's going to be hot and everything. Just keep running.
Just go. Yeah.
Just keep running. Them old 350s just.
Yeah. You had Fords back in the day. You had Fords and all kinds of motors back in the day, right? When you first started?
Well, everybody that ran good was running a Chevy.
Okay.
They would. It was one of those things, and I'm not a mechanic, I just listen to them talk, to develop the same kind of motor with a Ford, it costs you 2 or 3 times the money.
Okay.
And you could do the same thing with that 350, a lot cheaper.
That's what Tim Munn
And
told
that's,
me. Because I said, I don't mind switching to Ford just to be different. And
Yeah.
he said, you
And
don't want any part of that.
But nowadays, with the new technology and price things, it may be all the same. I don't know.
I don't know.
But in those days, it was the Chevy was the cheapest.
Yeah, I think they still are. Now, Royal's got the LS legal on several of the classes, and man, you can get a LS out of a junkyard for $700 and put a cam in it and an oil pan and springs, and I swear to God, under $2,000, you got a race engine that will do good. Yeah. Everything else costs money, is why everybody's not switching to them. You got to have the MSD box and all the different stuff that goes with them, coils and.
And I don't know if racing could ever get back to it, but the back east, they say they're doing good, so maybe they could out here too. I don't know.
I hope so. I don't want it to die out here. There's only a couple things to do in this town, and racing.
Well, it died out for quite a while when they started working this track and then shut this one down. There was a couple of years there wasn't no racing.
Well, that was COVID, right? Because I moved here during that time.
Maybe
and
that's
he
what
couldn't run this track, and that one was dead.
Yeah,
and
there's just
so
nothing.
we had to go to Alien Speedway and go see what's
Maybe
going on over
COVID
there.
was
was,
the main
yeah.
problem. There wasn't nothing going on.
Yeah, 5-6 years ago was COVID time, and he had to shut this track down.
Is that what it called?
Yeah, I think that might be state.
Yeah, I
land.
think it seemed like he kept that one open until he could move down there. Then the COVID hit. I think
Exactly. I think so. I moved here right during COVID. Yeah. Interesting times. Interesting. Well, who's your favorite U.S. president of all time? Not to get political. I'm not going to ask you to elaborate. I'm
right
just
now
curious.
it'd have to be Trump.
Yeah.
But I get pretty aggravated at all of them. When I was growing up, we liked Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
And come to find there's a lot of shady things they did.
Yeah.
You know, you think, well, surely he wasn't. Well, yeah, he was too.
Power and money, right? Power and money. That'll corrupt you.
Yeah. We sit there and watch different things go on. You like Reagan and you like Trump. Maybe they'll do some good. Maybe they'll make some changes that's real. You know, we don't even recognize this country anymore.
Yeah. I didn't mean to get political. I'm just curious who you like the best.
Yeah.
I try to steer away from that, but yeah, I'm just curious what everybody thinks. I don't really care what people think. Everybody has their own reason politically.
We're from this country. We're all registered Democrats.
Yeah.
Because you had to.
Yeah.
There wasn't no Republicans around. If you didn't on the Republican ticket, sometimes they wouldn't even have nobody even on that.
Wow, they would just make you vote.
You just have to do that, and in the primary, you had a choice. But in the primary and the Republicans, there's no choice. It's just one guy right there. You could vote for him in the general, but you couldn't do that. So if you wanted anything done, there was a few people like Chopey down there in Mesquite. If you want to run for election, you go through him.
Yeah.
And he'll get you. If he likes you, he'll get you elected Democrat.
Wow. Okay.
And they were just pretty much like that here. You know, there wasn't nothing else.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. Man, I regret steering it that way. I never do that, but I just was curious. I don't know you. I know everybody else that comes in here, and I'm like, I steer them away from their politics, and but yeah, I don't know you that well, so I'm happy to hear people's opinions, and it doesn't. I'm the type that it doesn't rattle me. A lot of people, if you say that, they'll be just rattled, and I'm just not that way. I got family on both sides of the aisle, and I just smile when people talk, and it's not a big deal to me. I love them all, and
my dad and them all come out of the Depression.
Yeah.
And they would have never voted Republican ticket. No way.
Yeah.
No way. Mm-hmm. You want to say, Daddy, look what he looks like now. Look at this.
Right.
You might change your mind.
Well,
but they lived through that Depression, and they blamed everything on Hoover. Everything.
Yeah.
It's all. He starved us to death.
Yeah, I do know that much. What you see, especially on the news, you can't listen to any of that, and the old Democrat Party is dead.
Oh,
that's not a thing anymore. So
no, that's it.
My grandparents wouldn't be same thing. They would not be along with that, and they were like, if you even said you're a Republican, it'd be a big problem in our family. So for that, but it's not the same. They would lean more right, I believe, because of the way things have been going. But
this stuff here is just plumb ridiculous. You go, I can't believe they're even thinking about this stuff.
Yeah, and we got to steer away from this because I don't want to. Everybody gets heated with that stuff. And what's your favorite Martin Robinson story of all time? You've been around Martin forever. Huh?
Martin, he's done some amazing things. This isn't racing. This is just what he did to me.
Good, I like it. Let's hear it.
I got an old pickup, an '88 GMC pickup, and I still drive it. We took it to Arkansas racing. Drove it down there, and worked on it all the way down there and all the way back.
Yeah.
And on that particular unit, the fuel pump is in the tank. And to change the fuel pump, you drop the tank out of the bottom or take the bed off the pickup. And so I left it up with Martin. I said, put that fuel pump in there like that. And he said, okay. And the fuel pump, they're almost $700 back then. It's just for a fuel pump and everything, the gauge, everything that goes with it, around $700, $700. And so he had it for a couple of days. And I went up there to pick it up. I said, well, what owe you? And he said, nothing. I said, nothing? Nothing. He said, it didn't take me very long to do it. I said, but that's not the deal. The pump cost $600 or $700. No, he said, I went out and found a junk, went out of a junker and put it in. I said, you went to the junkyard and put a junk used fuel pump in my pickup?
Yeah.
And that was back in the early 90s.
Yeah.
And it's still running. It's still in there.
No way.
It's still in there.
That's what I love about Martin.
But it's still right there.
He can make anything work with bubble gum and duct tape.
Yeah,
He's
I said,
just
what?
the man.
You put that in my pickup? I said, we got it out. We got the tank out or the bed off. Put a new one in it. No, he went out and
Wow.
found a junk one and put it in my pickup, and it's still there.
Yeah. Yep. Well, he is one of the racing gods around here, that's for sure. I was glad to sit down with him last month and do that.
Yeah, I've seen him put together some stuff that just, it'd take a pretty good machinist to do it, and he didn't know machine at all, just a welding torch and a vise.
Yeah.
Get it pretty close.
Yep.
Run like that.
And it's inspiring. He's told me his level of education. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. You're a genius, you know. And
Oh, he's
he
done
just
good.
didn't like book smart stuff, and I was kind of that way too. Just get me outside to work with my hands. But I love that. The more I learn about Martin, the more I like
Yeah,
him.
Martin's fun. He was fun to be with, and like I said, he got me disqualified before and got me to go fix. But he's right. He's right on what he does.
Yeah. Yeah. If you're never disqualified, you probably aren't doing anything, you know.
That's
They're
right.
looking for a lot of stuff when you start winning too much. If you won 9 features in a row, that's time to, they're going to find something.
They got to find something
Yeah.
to do right there.
Well, mister, thank you. It's great meeting you. I've heard your name, but I'm thankful that you came and sat down with us.
I wished I was young enough to be out there running with you guys.
Heck yeah, I appreciate you being here.
All
Thank
right.
you so much.
Good to meet you. Like that, we'll have to get together more.
Yes, sir. You come over. You're welcome anytime.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Here for a long time. I'm here for a good time. So bring on the sunshine, to hell with the red wine. Pour me some moonshine.